All right, and we're back. Welcome back, everyone. It's your boy Jacob Jordan Live, and today we're gonna be talking about Vinicius Jr. We're gonna be talking about Vini Jr. and we're gonna be talking about his recent dip in form amidst him asking for a new salary that pays him on the same level as Kylian Mbappe. Now, before we get into this video, I want to ask everyone here to smash the likes. Let's get this video to 100 likes, and don't forget to subscribe. It says like 90% of you guys haven't been subscribing, and we're trying to get that percentage to like around 30%. We're trying to be one of the only YouTubers in the world with that type of percentage, so let's go about that. Now, every Real Madrid fan knows that Vini's form has not been where it's supposed to be since the start of the Club World Cup. Since the start of the Club World Cup, and you could go even before the Club World Cup into some Champions League and La Liga performances, where this season Vini has completely ghosted and has not really been providing that great of value to the team. Now, here's his performance from his latest match against a side that's not even playing for a top 5 league in Europe. WSG Tirol. The whole team has an amazing performance, bar Courtois and him. It was a 6.9. He averaged totally one shot on target, 78% in terms of accurate passes, no chances created, and let's just focus on this, on attack. He got dispossessed once, 3 touches in the opponent's box, and Vini doesn't really offer much defensively. It's mainly in his duels, and his offense is where Vini's bread and butter is. Now, Vini, I'm just gonna tell you straight up what I think. I think if you're gonna be asking for a salary which is on par to Kylian Mbappe, and I'm just gonna show you Kylian Mbappe's salary right here, according to T-Muck News. Now, this could be varied. It could be a little bit cheaper or a little bit more, depends, but Mbappe is making a salary of 31.3 million euros a year. Alba comes in second with 22.5. Bellingham comes third at 20 mil, sharing that spot with Vinicius Jr. Now, honestly, I think what Vini's making a year is pretty good. Like, you're making 20 million euros a year. That's a lot of money, but I think he's mostly looking at this as from an ego standpoint. I helped us get a Champions League back at the Bernabeu before this guy even came here, where I was a main man. It was just mainly me and Bellingham carrying this team to glory in 2024. And that's fair. That's probably why he thinks he should be getting paid on par as Mbappe, and on par as just mainly on par as Mbappe, and being paid like the highest salary at the club. Now, I'm just gonna say this straight up, Vini, you're not Mbappe. Mbappe shows up for his team in the World Cup finals, and sometimes he puts France on his back, and he single-handedly wins games for his country at the highest level in the biggest tournaments in the world. He does the same. He was doing the same for PSG, where he would single-handedly win games in the Champions League for PSG. And let's be honest, Mbappe is easily the best attacker at Madrid. Easily. If Vini is going to coexist with Mbappe in attack, because I can already see what can happen. I can see if this goes on and Vini continues to demand these wages I'm willing to believe that Real Madrid has no problems in letting Vinicius Jr. go, putting Mbappe back on the left, going and get probably a false nine, or just a decent nine like a Isak type of profile, and stick them up top. Your goals are mainly gonna come from Mbappe. Just get players that could bring the best out of Mbappe, and I don't think it would be crazy to build a team around Mbappe and Arda Güler. It wouldn't be crazy, especially when both of those players, Arda Güler and Mbappe, complement each other so well. But this video is about Vini, man. And like I was saying, in your last couple of games, especially in the Club World Cup, you can see here against Juventus, he had a pretty good game. Okay, this is the Club World Cup. He had a pretty good game against Pachuca, Salzburg, Juve, but these are teams we expect good performances against. You don't get paid Mbappe money to perform good against Juventus, Salzburg, or Pachuca from Monterrey. I'm sorry, you don't get Mbappe money to perform against those teams. You get Mbappe money to destroy teams like Paris Saint-Germain, especially in the form they've been in. Not even in Borussia Dortmund, because Borussia Dortmund is not even a team you guys see on the same level, despite them coming to the Champions League final just a year before. They lost most of their great players. Al Hilal is another team we expect Vini to show up against, because let's be honest, Al Hilal is probably one of the strongest teams in club football, and the Club World Cup brought that to our attention. It brought it to our attention. Now when you see games against WSG Tirol, where everyone is doing well, if I'm not mistaken, Rodrigo comes off the bench and he scores, and Vini, who starts, gets 62 minutes of play. He cannot bag either an assist or a goal. That's where we start to become worried, and we start to be like, hey man, maybe Madrid has a point in not giving you the money. And the fact of the matter is, the fact that they're actually willing to wait and to see if, hey, okay, maybe Vini has a point. Let's see if he can produce on, the same level as Mbappe, or be like an Mbappe type of return on investment. Because Vini has given moments where he has reached that height of, I'm best player of the world. But the thing is, we want those performances consistently for 5-10 years, and more people can see Mbappe giving that compared to you, Vini. This is a year you have a chance to prove everyone wrong, big dog. Because to be honest, I believe when Vini's on it and he's playing for the team, here's the most important part. When Vini's playing for the team and he's on it, he's definitely at the same level as Mbappe. But when Vini's playing for himself and trying to prove that he's the best player on the team, that's where he takes away from all those great qualities that we like about Vini. Where he would beat 2, 3, 4, 5 players, and then he would have the easiest tap-in available, with Mbappe standing in a position that's easily right there, and instead of him just giving Mbappe the ball, he would go for a difficult shot. And now we're just looking at you like, Vini, why are you doing this? Why are you making the game harder for yourself and for the team? Mbappe and Vini is supposed to be one of the deadliest duos in the world. Mbappe was never the type of player that was just only goals. Yes, he can give us goals, but Vini and Mbappe, these are both players that can give you goals and assists. Do they want to score goals over assists? Of course, we know that. They want Ballon d'Ors. But this is also where I'm trying to look at Alonso as well. Alonso, you know what the deal was when you were coming to Madrid. You know what the deal was when you were coming to Madrid, Alonso. So now you have to implement a philosophy in this club that incentivizes your front line to play for the team and not for themselves. I don't know if you have to create a system where it's a point-based system where assists count more towards your team minutes than goals, I think that would be pretty smart, because now it would incentivize Mbappe to now look to create the easiest goals possible for his teammates, and the same for Vini to create the easiest goals possible. I think that would be very smart. But you're the manager with the badges, the certifications, and all of that stuff, right? So you definitely know what you're doing. You an invincible with Bayer Leverkusen. So I'm not too worried about that. But if Vini and Mbappe can't learn to coexist this season, one of these guys are going. And I think it's unfortunately going to be Vini unless he can outperform Mbappe. It just depends on who scores the most goals and who's more of a value to the team. If I believe, because this is what I believe in Madrid, they're a cutthroat, ruthless institution that values being number one over everything else in football, right? And I believe it doesn't matter if they were twerking for Mbappe 2 years in a row, through 5 years in a row. If Mbappe now comes to Madrid and he's not performing to that level of quality, he might have 3 seasons. And if you can't give us something in those 3 seasons, you're out of here, bud. Same thing goes for Vini. Vini, don't think you're bigger than the program, because it doesn't matter. Look at Rodrigo. Rodrigo literally has to play on the right, and he's the best decision maker out of this whole front three. Out of that whole front three, he's literally the best decision maker. Because there's times where Vini's emotion and Mbappe's emotion would get the best of them and they would make stupid decisions. But Rodrigo, he's known as the guy that always puts his ego to the side and plays for the team. And people want to put it like, oh, because he has to, because he doesn't have the skill to perform on Mbappe and Vini's level. Bullshit. That's bullshit. I believe if you give Rodrigo a season, 2 seasons, just 2 seasons on the left, he would be giving us those same type of numbers that those two give us. And we see it at times. So we're gonna see, man. We're gonna see going forward if Vini can step up. Hopefully he can. I have stocks in Vini. I really want Vini to have a great season this year, because I like him as a player. And it would feel weird to see Vini outside of a Real Madrid shirt. But if you decide to leave Real Madrid, I know you're big on your salary, but hey, if you come to Chelsea, Vini, hey, you're gonna be up there with the big boys competing still. Trust me, daddy. So, guys, like the video again. Let me know what you think in the description about Vini and Vinícius Jr. Let me know what you think about the player, the person. Let me know.